It's too late for you to tell us you're sorry. You passed that point a long time ago.
I forgot to hit the start button.
Your waiting lies and deception is the only thing that you seem to know.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of God's creation. It's a Monday, 13th of April, 2026, and broadcasting from the United States of Israel, the most manipulated, brainwashed country on the face of the planet. And I got news and information they hope and pray you never hear, because the media lies to you. And guess what?
You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome to the Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and as I said, broadcasting from the most confused, dumbed-down, manipulated nation on the face of the planet. And, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The propaganda, the gaslighting, it just never stops. It never stops. And they keep throwing you this issue and that issue and that issue and this issue. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Everybody's standing up in a hammock with roller skates on, juggling chainsaws, trying to figure out what the heck is going on in this insane world that we are forced to exist in. Anyway, I'm here to see if I can't sort through some of the subterfuge and get you guys to start thinking outside of the cage. Anyway, that's my job. that's what I do. I can't help it. You know, I was charged with the responsibility of blowing the trumpet many years ago. And, I'm doing it. And I don't do it for the money or the accolades or the praise. No. I never was into that. You know, I mean, there's people out there selling my music and selling my documentaries on eBay and other shopping. I don't know who they are. I don't care. It's not about the money. And if anybody's in it for the money and the praise, they're in it for the wrong reasons. Okay, where do we get started today? There's so many different issues. Right off the bat, I just want to challenge everybody to use common sense. And I know it's shunned. I know it's in some places, frowned upon, downright illegal to think outside of the corporate cage. But I encourage you to do so. Now, this issue about rescuing the pilot, all right, we've heard about that. All right, we've heard that, there was a daring rescue miles and miles inside Iranian territory, and we sent in a whole big team, and it was a tremendous success. We found this pilot. He was hiding in a crevice in the mountains, and we were able to find him because of his heartbeat and stuff like that, right? That's what we've been told. However, there's another side of that story. According to Iran's deputy minister speaker, I guess, he said, and I quote, "The Americans didn't enter Isfahan to rescue a pilot. They entered to steal the uranium, and they left empty-handed. The world's greatest army entered Iran as a thief, and it left as a loser. The secret Trump will never tell America failed in Isfahan. Iran knows it, and the world is starting to know it too." Well, again, put the puzzle pieces together. We were told that they went in there with they went in there with not one, but two C-130s, a whole bunch of helicopters and jets. And we were told that, the pilot was rescued and brought back home. He was injured. He had a sprained ankle, and he'd walked for miles and climbed the mountain, and they found him, and they brought him back, and that's the story. Well, use common sense. Where are those C-130s? Where are the helicopters? They're in ruin in Isfahan. They didn't go in there to rescue the pilot. No. I mean, think about it. If they had rescued this pilot, don't you think the family would have been on the news? Don't you think the pilot would be, hailed as a hero, and he made the sacrifice and he did his best to serve his country? And there's been no interviews with him, no interviews with the family. No. As a matter of fact, that story is old news. And the powers that be are counting on that. The simple fact that America, in general, has the attention span of a potato. And so we're on to other things. It's not like there aren't enough other issues to get all fired up about. But, this pilot story does not make sense at all. Not to me, anyway. And I would challenge the mainstream media to, do an interview with the family or with the pilot or maybe with the people who rescued the guy. But no. Dead silence. Absolute silence on the issue because, we're going to have to turn the page, and now we got to talk about the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. We got to talk about what China's doing. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about that. So, America is ending up with, with just another issue to focus on. So, and this is the whole point. This is the point, folks, to keep us all, off balance and not knowing what's going on. Because a table is being set. Yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, there was there's a town. Let me see if I can find it. I just had it up here a minute ago. Where is it? I got all these tabs open because I got them all prepped up here for, let me see. Where is it? Here. No, that's not it either. Oh, but that's interesting. Okay, I'll save that one for a little bit. The pilot. Let me see. Okay, I'll do it this way. Not the pilot. What am I talking about? Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, in the state of New Jersey, there is a little area. Okay, stop. Okay, here we go. This is in a little town called Pier Village, New Jersey. Now, in Pier Village, they have 7 flagpoles. One of them has the United States flag. The other 6 have been flying the Israeli flag. And a lot of the residents there are saying, whoa, wait a minute. Why are we flying 6 Israeli flags and only 1 American or United States flag? Anyway, they had a little town meeting, and there weren't a whole lot of attendees, but there were certainly a lot of people that wanted to step up to the podium and give their opinion about what's going on. Why are we flying Israeli flags in this little Pier Village in New Jersey? And here are some of the statements that were made by people that came up to the podium.
For those of you who are not aware, there are currently 6 Israeli flags, but only 1 American flag being flown at the center of Pier Village. I find this incredibly un-American. The symbols and flags being flown there should reflect the United States of America and not the state of Israel. It has been over a month since I spoke to this council, and the flags are still being flown, which means this council and this Shabbos Goy of a mayor has taken 0 action to have flags removed.
This is treason. When I enlisted in the United States Army, I swore an oath to America and the American flag, not the nation of Israel or the flag of Israel. What this really represents is conquest. America is under Israeli occupation.
The display of these flags publicly in your town is an obscenity. It's deeply offensive to most people, including many Jews, including this Jew.
I can't bring my son there because he understands there's a genocide happening. The International Court of Justice says that Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, and we have to walk under his flag every day if you want to go for a jog. Are you kidding? We can do better than this. Why are there 6 of those flags? If you want to be inclusive, fly somebody else's flag too. Why are there 6 of those flags and only 1 representing this
there's
country?
been a coup.
To have my little 7-year-old look up at those flags, put a sting in me.
My opposition to those Israeli flags flying in Long Branch.
And I am up here tonight because I have watched politics surrounding the state of Israel corrupt not just national politics, but now it's affecting my neighborhood and the town in which I grew up in.
Listen, I love my Jewish people, my Palestinian, I love everyone. But my son is a veteran. He's on the Moss Mile. When he came back, he couldn't believe there were Israel flags. He's like, Mom, I'm a veteran, and you have these flags here? Yes, that's my son, and I'm proud of him.
Tonight, 6 Israel flags flying Long Branch. That is 6 too many.
We're Americans. We don't go and raise Chinese flags or Russian flags on their soil, right? Consider disrespectful. And that's what an American flag is, something to respect. People die for that flag.
I would appreciate if you guys take the flags down. This is America. Thank you.
Always America first.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, that's pretty cool, don't you think? Yeah, a lot of people, all of them, were disgusted with the fact that these Israeli flags were flying over their town. So, and why is that happening? Why? And that's why I introduced the show. Hey, broadcasting from the United States of Israel. Israel has taken over this country. You look no further than the media and how many of the very powerful people in, decision-making positions, they sport that blue star. Now, this is not to be anti-Semitic. Okay, we can get into the definition of a Semite, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line here, it's not about hating Jews. It's about hating the Zionist, murderous state of Israel. And the simple fact that they call themselves God's chosen people makes me question which God that they're talking about. Well, we could talk to Harold Rosenthal about that, but that's another issue. Or Abe Finkelstein, we could talk about that. I could pull up those audio clips, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I'm under the impression, and I've said this many, many times. I told you all about my meeting back in 1996 when I was, quote, strongly invited to attend a meeting, and it turned out it was the White Hats. And they talked about how this country had been taken over, and the final nail is when they took out JFK. Well, I was really shocked because Ron Paul said basically the same thing. This is a recent interview with Ron Paul. Listen up.
There's been a coup. We don't have any resemblance to a government that believes in a republic. We don't have honest money. We don't have integrity. We don't even have people in Washington that even pretends, that you're supposed to tell the truth. But I do believe there has been a coup, and it's been taken over. And if I want to just put the date in my mind. And anybody could pick probably any date in the last 100 years. But I have picked November 22nd, 1963.
What happened on that day?
That was the day Kennedy was murdered by our government.
Wow.
By the CIA.
By the CIA, by the CIA. And, of course, we all know that the CIA is joined at the hip with the Israeli Mossad. And we played that clip sometime last week where all of these, remember they were going to release all the JFK files? Well, there were about 10,000 pages that were not released because they mentioned Israel. Yeah. Okay, when the world finds out who was behind the assassination of JFK, when the world finds out who was behind the assassination of Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King, and who was behind 9/11, yeah. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, right. But the bottom line here is, like I was saying, if you look at the media and you look at our Congress, the Senate, the overwhelming majority of our members of both branches of our legislative branch, both of them, more than 3/4 of them, have been taking huge amounts of money from AIPAC. And it's not just AIPAC. There are several other lobbying organizations that they take money from. And, of course, money talks, BS walks. And so how do you control a government?
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, those are the three magic words, folks. And like I said, our media has been taken completely over, and I even memorialized that in this particular verse of a song I wrote 20 years ago.
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency to go. Let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV are influence in Washington. Make people do what we want done. Eventually, when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
Yeah, you think I was blowing smoke all those years ago? I don't think so. No, that wasn't the case at all. Not at all. So where do we go from here? Where do we go? Let me see. I got a couple of other things, more puzzle pieces for you to take a look at. And let's see here. Where is it? Is it this one or that one? I got all these tabs that I have. I queue them up for the show. And let me see. Is it this one or is it that one? Is it this one? Oh, here it is. I played this clip, maybe 6-7 months ago. And it's worth replaying. And this is a dinner that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was at. And he was talking, so you have to excuse the background noise because the audio was, again, taken at a restaurant. Here's what Robert F. Kennedy said, and this has got to be, maybe 6 months ago. I remember playing this clip, and now all of a sudden it's making the rounds on social media. Wouldn't you know? Ahead of my time again. Anyway, here's RFK.
The past 2.5 years, and the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes.
Hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. Okay, keep listening.
The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted.
COVID-19 is ethnically targeted.
COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people.
Okay, it's targeted to affect Caucasians and black people.
The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Oh, the ones who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese. My. Well, with that, I refer you to a document from 1995 from the U.S. Army War College. And I've mentioned this before. For those of you newer listeners, you can look this document up. Do a search for The Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War. Again, this came out in July of 1994. Excuse me, I misspoke. We're talking 32 years ago. Written by Stephen Metz and James Kivett. And on page 9, I read. You think this is all new stuff? Here we go. Certain biotechnical weapons, considered by some to violate the Biological Warfare Convention, to which the United States is a signatory, also may transgress American values regarding appropriate means. Most Americans would not support the use of a weapon designed to target only a specific racial or ethnic group in anything less than a war for survival of the nation. Could the government and military of this multi-ethnic republic face charges that it was developing or using a weapon targeting Africans, Jews, Koreans, Hispanics, etc.? Would defense against such a charge occupy the attention of policymakers to the detriment of other essential businesses? And even accidental injuries or deaths caused by, quote, non-lethal, unquote, anti-material substances could be politically damaging, unquote. So this is something that they've been working on for a long time. And as a matter of fact, I will now turn to page 14 because we stop and say, well, what is wrong with Americans? Why aren't we out in the streets protesting? Protesting anything. I mean, we're not protesting against the child sex trafficking rings. We're not protesting, to expose the satanic cults that are involved in human sacrifice, blood drinking, cannibalism. Most Americans are going, what's on TV tonight? Why have we become so dumbed down? Why do we not have the testicular fortitude to stand up and scream, not no, but hell no? Maybe it has something to do with the following. Now, again, I refer to the Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War document. And on page 14, it says here, and they're describing a scenario on how they could manipulate the population. And I read, it says, quote, naturally, all food supplies contained a super long-lasting sedative. This calmed local passions and led to an immediate decline in anti-regime activity. Where there were no direct U.S. relief efforts, sedatives were dispersed using cruise missiles. Maybe they're being dispersed with chemtrails. Come on, folks, think outside of the cage. Anyway. All right. Let's see. What else do you got, Dave? Oh, man, I'll tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, why aren't we hearing about this in the media? Well, you may recall back, but when this whole, before COVID, in Trump's first presidential term, you remember they were screaming Russian collusion. Yeah, Russia. And turned out to be a nothing burger. Well, during that time, you used to have access to RT. RT is the Russian equivalent of CNN. It's called Russia Today, hence RT. And a lot of people were saying, no, we can't have Russian propaganda on our TV show, on our TV providers, you know. So all of the providers, whether it be DirecTV or the Dish Network or Roku or whatever, they all took RT off. So you couldn't hear the other side of the story. Because, of course, they were all Russian agents. Yeah. Larry King was on RT, so that made him a Russian agent. Yeah. Former Governor Jesse Ventura was on RT, made him a Russian agent. Chris Hedges, former Pulitzer Prize writer for the New York Times, another Russian agent. And the list goes on. Ed Schultz, who I knew personally, he was originally on before that he was a radio talk show host in Fargo, North Dakota, and then he ended up on MSNBC, and he was, one of the anchormen there. And then in 2003, when GW wanted to bomb the snake snout out of Iraq, he was not behind it. So they paid off his contract and fired him, and he went to RT. That made him a Russian agent. Well, the bottom line here is that there's another very well-known journalist by the name of Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez worked for Fox. He worked for CNN. And he wanted to tell the truth, but they jettisoned him too. So he went to RT, and he's still out there on RT. As a matter of fact, he was discussing the situation with propaganda in the United States. And like I said, he was a veteran of CNN, Fox, and NBC. So what is it that you can and can't talk about, Mr. Sanchez? Tell us all.
You know, I worked at CNN. I worked at Fox News. I worked at NBC. And in all of those places, if I was to say something that was positive toward Iran or antagonistic toward Israel, you're done. You're finished. You're fired. And not only that, they will make sure you don't work again anywhere in the U.S. media, for the most part. Today, that's different because people have podcasts, and alternative media has become powerful enough that there are voices now in the media in the United States, not the corporate media, but outside the corporate media, who have just as big a reach, and they are changing things. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Cenk Uygur, left, right. So those voices and my voice are voices where I'm not here to be pro-Iran. I'm not here to be against Iran. I'm here to find the truth. And that's what journalism is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can't find an entity in my own country today that allows me to do that, which is why I align myself now more journalistically, just in terms of location, with Russia. I feel like in Russia, I'm more able to ask good questions and be more honest about the real geopolitical situation in the world than I would be if I was working at CNN or Fox News, for example.
Yeah, he's telling it like it is. And you know what? As a child, my dad was Air Force. And I did spend time at different Air Force bases. When I was a young child, Dad was stationed at Randolph Air Force Base outside of San Antonio, and then up in Elmendorf Air Force Base outside of Anchorage, Alaska. And, of course, being a son who's proud of his dad, and at that time there was still, hostilities, Cold War, all that stuff. And I remember we had a shortwave radio. And when you tried to tune into not Voice of America. What was it? I guess it was Voice of America. I don't recall. But there were jamming stations that were coming out of Russia because they didn't want the truth to come out. At that time, it was the USSR. And so you try to tune in that particular frequency, and all you could hear was, that's all you'd hear. And but you see, now the shoe's on the other foot. Russia now is open. Russia is now allowing two different sides of the story to be told. And it's the United States who is unfortunately under the iron fist of Israel. I'm not afraid to say it. And that's just the way it is. To not to quote Walter Cronkite, and that's the way it is. Yeah, remember that? Anyway, in the meantime, let's see how. Where is it here? I got more here. Is it this one? No, that's not it. I got so many different things I wanted to get to. Oh yeah, we'll get back. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to change gears for just a second. I'll be right back.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code RedPill101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Don't forget the word the, T-H-E, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page. It'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank, get the specifications and details on why this fuel catalyst is so good for your vehicle. It changes the way your fuel burns. It burns more efficiently, it burns cleaner, and right away in the first tank you'll start to notice that there's more power. When you hit the accelerator, your car goes. And the moneymaker is that you will start to see an improvement in your mileage, anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending, of course, upon your make, model, year of vehicle and your driving habits. But the bottom line here is that if you're getting 20% better mileage and a $20 purchase gets you 5 tablets, 1 tablet per tank, do the math. 20% better mileage means the 5th tank is free. And with the price of fuel these days, I don't think that's a small thing. So you purchase, get more tank, and you end up with a free tank of gas. Do the math. It doesn't make sense for you not to be using Get More Tank. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. All right, 34 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in, and this is a Monday edition of the WTF Reports, and I know I'm all over the map today. But there's so much stuff to cover. You regular listeners know that this last week, so much has been coming out about disclosure. Yeah, UFOs or UAPs, whichever way you want to call them. Yeah, are there extraterrestrials, aliens, et cetera, and if so, why are they here? What are they doing? Well, according to, let's see, Lauren Boebert, Anna Luna, what's her name? Oh, then there's Tim Burchett and Matt Getz and a bunch of other people who are talking about the alien/human hybrid programs that have been going on for a long time. Oh, and then there's Stephen Greer, of course. So what is it with all this alien hybrid stuff? Well, Matt Getz was a guest with Benny, oh gosh, what's his name? Tip of my tongue here. You'll know who it is. Anyway, here's Matt Getz talking about this alien hybrid program.
I think the most important information will be the biologics that are not human that have been discovered. And like even some of the briefings that aren't classified just need to be out in the public. I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
Yeah, I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened, and what he wanted was a group, members of Congress, to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
What do you mean non-human biologics? Like this?
Well, that was the testimony of David Grush before the House Oversight Committee, which I joined. And the testimony was that in crashes of craft that had been recovered by the CIA and through a special program that the CIA had for crash recovery, that it wasn't just, the hard materials, it was also biologics, but that they couldn't identify a human source of those biologics.
Wow. So, are all these people crazy? Are all these people just blowing smoke? Is this all just conspiracy theory? Well, a lot of us been screaming about this for years and years and years, but of course it was never really taken seriously. But now people are starting to take it seriously. Like I said, when you've got the likes of Matt Gaetz, Anna Paulina Luna, Lauren Boebert, Tim Burchett, and other members of Congress, I mean, this is something to stand up and take notice of. And it's not. And the thing is, it doesn't just have to do with the U.S. military. No, there's some other people who had their fingers in that particular piece of pie. Yeah. According to TPV Sean, he made the following. I'm just going to play the introduction here. But if you haven't followed TPV Sean, you might want to. He's blowing the lid off of a lot of issues. And this is one of them. Listen to this.
Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein were involved in black op government experiments involving disposable orphan children and aliens, according to bombshell footage recorded by John McAfee before he was found dead. In the final years of his life, McAfee was running a high-stakes spying operation using viral spyware and drone surveillance. What he uncovered, straight from the heart of the US government, was staggering. Alien-human hybrid breeding programs using black orphans trafficked from American cities.
Black orphans trafficked from American cities. And that's not just, from American cities. They also had children from all over the world being brought into this program.
Sickening experiments that would make Dr. Joseph Mengele himself blush in horror. And evidence that suggests the Book of Enoch wasn't just ancient mythology. And at the centre of it all, the man McAfee called the world's most deranged psychopath, Bill Gates.
The reason that the government wanted to collect me was that after they had raided my property in 2012 in the jungle, shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of my property over a bogus charge, I was pissed off. So I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones, that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find it. I did find out that the Minister of National Defense was the largest drug trafficker in all of Central America. The Minister of Immigration, the largest human trafficker.
Interesting. Anyway, it goes on. If you want more information on that particular report, you want to check out TPV Sean. So this is a very, very dark, deep hole, and it has to be exposed. And thanks to the legions, I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of just regular people, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, thanks to the internet, they are all like internet sleuths. And they're finding out all kinds of stuff on all kinds of topics. So I would suggest you look outside of the cage. Think outside of the cage and don't rely on your alphabet networks to give you any truth whatsoever, because they are paid liars. They were propagandists, and they're being controlled by a particular group of people that wants nothing more than to destroy the morale and the foundations that this country was founded upon. As a matter of fact, you might want to give this a listen. This is the Lake Worth City Council in Florida opening up their session. Okay? And, of course, usually they give, pledge allegiance to the flag or something like that. But in this particular case, again, this is Lake Worth City in Florida opening up their session. Listen to this. This is going on in city council meetings. Oh.
Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell.
Now, she said, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to pause it because a bunch of people got up and left the room. They didn't want to be there for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, let's carry on. This is the invocation. Here we go. Come on, get to it. Yeah, there's more people leaving the room. Okay,
noted.
The door closed.
Our collective atheism, which is to say loving empathy, scientific evidence, and critical thinking, leads us to believe that we can create a better, more equal community without religious divisions. May we pray together. Mother Earth, we gather today in your redeeming and glorious presence to invoke your eternal guidance in the universe, the original creator of all things. May the efforts of this council blend the righteousness of Allah with the all-knowing wisdom of Satan. May Zeus, the great god of justice, grant us strength tonight. Jesus might forgive our shortcomings, while Buddha enlightens us through his divine affection. We praise you, Krishna, for the sanguine sacrifice that freed us all. After all, if Almighty Thor is with us, who can ever be against us? And finally, for the bounty of logic, reason, and science, we simply thank the atheists, agnostics, humanists, who now account for 1 in 5 Americans, and growing rapidly. In closing, let us, above all, love one another, not to obtain mythical rewards for ourselves now, hereafter, or based on superstitious threats of eternal damnation, but rather embrace secular-based principles of morality and do good for goodness sake. And so we prayed, so what?
And so we pray, so what? Wow. So you want to know why our country is so screwed up? And he did admit that, about 20% of people feel that way. But that's a large block of people. And you know what? Those kinds of people are very active. Yeah. And this is why I keep saying, America, core America. I'm talking about mom, dad, apple pie, red, white, and blue America. You've got to get off of your butt. You've got to rediscover your testicular fortitude and stand up and be truly proud to be an American. But you got to be an American first before you can be proud. This is common sense, folks. And again, on the outset of this broadcast, I recognized and acknowledged that common sense is shunned. It's reviled by the mainstream folks out there that are pushing the narratives. And, those of us who are thinking outside of the cage, there's a price to be paid. No good deeds go unpunished. And there was a young man, let me see, all I have is his first name, Ahmad, and he was being interviewed by Kim Iverson, and he made a couple of really interesting points. Here they are.
And the United States is a very wealthy empire. Maybe it can continue to go to war while funding other things, but for the most part, I think we all see what's happening in the United States. Infrastructure is crumbling, inflation on the dollar, everything is incredibly expensive. The airports look disgusting. I mean, there are a lot of healthcare is through the roof. There are a lot of issues in the country, and they need to be resolved, and they require focus, they require vision, dedication, and they require money. And so much of the administration's time and energy is going to focusing on this Jewish supremacist colony in the Middle East that has so much contempt for Americans anyway. We see the way that these Zionists talk, like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, all of these different guys. They have contempt for Americans. Like, if you're not willing to fight and die for Israel and for Jewish supremacy, then you're not only anti-Semitic.
Well, we're anti-American for not wanting to fight and die for Israel. It's the most bizarre line of thinking.
Yeah, that is pretty absurd, isn't it? It is pretty doggone absurd, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Fortunately, many Americans are indeed waking up and smelling the coffee, or shall I say the gunpowder, or shall I say the white phosphorus. Oh, by the way, speaking of white phosphorus, yeah, you've heard that these peace negotiations fell apart because, well, first of all, the first thing Israel did, within 1 hour, they started bombing southern Lebanon again. And they're not just using bombs, they're using white phosphorus, folks, which is illegal. I mean, these are bloodthirsty monsters that are doing this. And they keep trying to tell you that, yes, the IDF is the most moral army in the world. My God, if you believe that, I've got some waterfront property in Arizona that I'd like to sell you. But no, people all over the world are seeing Israel for what they really are. And here's a woman who's basically spelled it out. We see who you are.
I will never have empathy for the people from the place we shall not name. And I am absolutely thrilled to report that majority of Americans prefer Palestine over you. And it is because they are waking up to the many, many awful things that you have done. They know about the Lavon affair, the Apollo affair, the King David Hotel, Alex O'Day, Jonathan Pollard, Ollie on the Grill, the gang raping, the organ theft, and that you love to go get your lawn chairs and go sit on top of the hill so that you can watch boom booms be dropped on innocent people. Everybody knows who you are now, and no amount of propaganda is going to make us believe anything other than that you are the true monster in all of this. Free, free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Yes, the world is seeing it. And by the way, Turkey is now telling Israel that you better stop this crap right now. You stop bombing Lebanon. Of course, Israel's got this idea for the greater Israel, and they feel it's their chosen purpose because they're God's chosen people, and God promised them this land. So they go with impunity and bomb the surrounding countries. Well, Turkey told those in Israel, say, look, you either stop bombing Lebanon, you leave Lebanon alone, or we're going to go at you. Now, Turkey is not a country that you want to mess with. They have a monstrous army. They are huge. Okay. So the bottom line here is that Israel is pissing off all of the neighboring countries. And yeah, it's about time that the other countries start standing up. And that's why a lot of Americans are now sort of rooting for Iran, because they all know that the tail is wagging the dog. Israel, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, they control more than 2/3 of our legislative branch. Yeah. Congress, the Senate, and yes, indeed, the president. So we have been taken over. Just like Ron Paul said, this is a coup. This has now become the United States of Israel. And meanwhile, they just keep on bombing. Bomb, kill everybody. Now, there was a report here. There was a woman. Let me see. What was her name here? Where is it? I don't. Oh, no, that's not it. Anyway, she was reporting live in Gaza about what was going on. The bombings just kept on going. Okay, Israel says, look, if you want to go to the safe zone, go to the safe zone. That's where you'll be safe. That's why we call it a safe zone. So you go to the safe zone and you'll be just fine. So all the survivors in Gaza, they go to the safe zone, and what happens? Here come the bombs. Anyway, here's a woman. She looks extremely distressed. She obviously is with the press. She's got the big vest on. It says press, and she's reporting there. And as she's reporting, one after another, car, ambulance, vehicles are showing up, and they're pulling all these children and women and injured people out to try to get some sort of relief. Here's her report.
Has just ended. What does the situation on the ground look like now?
She's choking back tears.
Well, I am standing in Shuhada Al-Aqsa Hospital, which is located in Deir al-Balah in southern Gaza, and this is where basically the Israeli military asked Gazans to evacuate. And what we are witnessing right now is whole families, children, women arriving to the hospitals. The Israeli warplanes attacked, airstriked a home that belonged to Abu Jbara family located in Deir al-Balah in southern Gaza. We saw whole families. I myself saw children, at least 10 children under the age of 5 with their heads cut off, their bodies. If you can see around me, we can still see the ambulances arriving to the Shuhada Al-Aqsa Hospital, mostly women, mostly children. I mean, this is undescribable. This is like a massacre.
It's a massacre.
The number that was published from the Palestinian Health Ministry is that the death toll here in Gaza is up to 2,215 Palestinians. But me standing right here in the hospital, I can clearly tell you that the number is going up every hour. More injuries arrive to the hospital. Here is an ambulance full of children.
Another one.
I can see the children where I'm standing. The situation is undescribable. Whole families, children under the rubble, children being killed. I have never witnessed anything like that. I've been covering escalations on Gaza for years now. And what we're witnessing right now is whole massacre.
Unbelievable. Like I said, she was choking back tears, and right behind her, one after another, a car pulls up, and before it even comes to a complete stop, the doors open, people gather around, grab the injured and pull them into the hospital. That car pulls away, another car pulls up, and another car, and an ambulance, one after another. This is what America is supporting. If you support Israel, and God help you if you want to say it's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel, it just it makes me all upset. Let me see. Where was this? Here's another guy. Some guy was talking about what's going on. Oh, you remember last week, Marco Rubio? He was saying if Iran had used its wealth to help its people instead of building up a machine of war. When he said that, I said, oh my God, the hypocrisy is amazing. Look at what's going on in this country. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Healthcare is falling apart. People can't pay their bills. And everybody in this country is suffering because we're sending billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars overseas for this war effort to support Israel's greater plan. When does it stop? Anyway, here's what this guy had to say.
Yesterday, when speaking of Iran, Marco Rubio said, imagine if instead of spending billions supporting terrorists or weapons, they had spent that money helping their people.
Wow.
But our politicians can't apply that critical lens to our own spending habits here. There is no other nation spending as much on weapons and no other nation that can match our investment in terrorism. In just the last month, the war on Iran has cost us more than $35 billion, all spent for more than 85,000 civilian buildings bombed in Iran, over 600 educational facilities, 282 medical facilities, a major pharmaceutical facility bombed, people reliant on medication for their cancer now waiting to see if their illness or our airstrikes kill them first. The same scenes that made us say never forget are being replicated over and over again in Iran, Lebanon, and Palestine. This prioritization of violence over the needs of U.S. citizens trickles from a national level all the way down to our local politics. Our state of Ohio pays more than $460 million for Israel's weapons, and our treasurer, Robert Sprague, invests over $330 million in Israel bonds. Meanwhile, what our state can do for us is assault our freedom by penalizing criticism of Israel. Instead of protecting trans people and giving them the visibility they deserve, they will target them for existing in public with HB 249. Our nation and our state don't care about our freedom, where we find housing, or who we are. They only care about how they can weaponize our taxes. When 1,200 people were killed in Israel, this council didn't hesitate to speak out. When Ukraine was invaded and the land illegally seized, this council didn't wait to do what was right. But now, when 1,200 people have been killed in Lebanon, when the same percentage of land seized to that of Ukraine, where is your moral consistency? 1 million Lebanese displaced, thousands killed in Iran, people still being starved and killed in Palestine. What makes these crimes more demanding of your voice is that it's our dollars that make them possible. We've seen apartheid, weapons, and violence as red lines for you in the past. We're asking for the same in the present. We can't bring the companies of genocide and apartheid into our city. We can't hold investments that are only profitable if all this violence continues. And we can't sell out our communities here while continue to bombing communities elsewhere. Stop the sale of City West and join us in actually working for a better tomorrow.
Wow, good statement. And what happens when the American Zionist Council, and then they hear people like that talking, or people like yours truly talking and being critical about Israel? And how dare you say, oh, Israel's in control of the American media. That's an anti-Semitic lie. Well, it's not a lie. And they admit it. Here it is.
Target Jewish students, your actions will not disappear into the darkness. We will shine a light on you that, thanks to Google and SEO, will follow you for the rest of your life. When you look for a job, when you look for a spouse, when you look for a nanny, when you look for anything, our work will always be documented, again, thanks to Google and SEO. In corporations where DEI leaders smeared Israel, excused Hamas, we pressured CEOs. Some resigned, many were terminated, but policies were changed, thankfully, from governmental to art institutions.
I just got to remind you that, yes, Google is controlled by the blue hats. Yeah.
Online, where anonymous accounts spread violent threats, we traced patterns, elevated evidence, and worked with authorities, leading to arrests from Florida, South Carolina, New York, California, and Texas. And we're not slowing down, sadly. Today, Stop Anti-Semitism, I'm proud to say, runs one of the most robust anti-Semitic enforcement operations in the United States, monitoring campuses, digital networks, activist groups, and public officials, documenting incidents in real time and mobilizing millions of people, of allies that are quietly by our side. But the fight is bigger than the exposure, and it's about securing a future where Jewish students can walk across a quad without being screamed at, a future where employers understand that anti-Semitism is not activism. It's bigotry, and it will cause you to lose your job.
Well, I got to tell you, sweetheart, it's your actions that has created all this animosity. Simple as that. Oh, there's so much more to get to, but I'm limited with time. And so anyway, if you're appreciating this broadcast, hey, do some business with us. Pick up the Wave Watch. Check out the Wave Watch. Yeah, it's a Rife machine you wear on your wrist, and you can get a $100 discount if you get one through the WTFReports.com website. That said, it's going to wrap it up for the Monday edition of the WTF Reports. And if you like the broadcast, please click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, spread the word. Word of mouth is the best advertising. All right, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow, God willing. So until then, stay safe, stay free. God bless you all. And I'll see you tomorrow.